Hi,
Margaret.
I'm Margaret Michaels. I'm A's brand content and storytelling manager. I'm so pleased that today I'm joined by Mark McCrillis, a proud CMA working as a financial analyst at iHeartMedia. He's here to talk about his job and his CMA experience. Mark earned his CMA in 2019 and has experienced firsthand the value of the CMA. iHeartMedia specifically asked for a CMA for the job he currently holds. And Mark's job is the perfect fit for him, marrying his interest in music — Mark plays the bass guitar — with his love for accounting and finance. Thank you, Mark, so much for joining us on this Facebook Live session.
Thanks, Margaret. Pleased to be here.
So now I want to find out a little bit more about how you heard about the CMA and what motivated you to pursue it.
Yeah. So I learned about the CMA during my undergrad course in accounting. So I was taking a cost accounting course, and I really enjoyed that subject matter. And I would reach out to my professor and just talk, about the course. And what gravitated me towards it was the flowing of costs through the manufacturing process. I thought that was the coolest, coolest thing. So my professor actually said, "Hey, look, I realized you really like this material. There's this certification out there." This is a few years ago. And she said it's a certified management accountant certificate, and it's really highly regarded. And I think you'd be a perfect candidate for it. And she said, what's great about it too is you can study for it while you're in school. So I did some research, and sure enough, I was like, whoa, this is right up my alley. It's going over subject matters that really engage me. So I decided to pursue it, and I always had a passion for accounting, and so that really, it was kind of a no-brainer for me, and I think it was exactly what I was looking for, And she explained it to me as it's kind of like an internal CPA as well, and so yeah, I just took it and ran with it, and she was one of the first to know that once I passed it. I shot her an email, and she was so excited for me.
Yeah, I'm sure she must have felt very satisfied with you in that direction.
Yes.
So I'm curious about your secondary school education. Mm-hmm. Were you very strong in math?
Yeah, so I always, from the beginning, I was always a math and science guy. I loved math, I loved biology, all of that. So those were my strong, subject matters, especially in my, middle school, high school. So always been a numbers guy, and I think that helped a lot too. And so yeah, I think that helped. Helps.
Yeah. And, I think more and more people are starting to realize how important it is for even high school students to get exposed to different careers early.
Absolutely.
I'm wondering, what would be your strategy for maybe reaching out to high school students, getting them excited about management accounting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was thinking the other day, I wish my high school had a business course or a finance course, some sort of, even trying to maybe implement it into like a math course, like some sort of business finance or personal finance course. Because you think about it, kids that, and not that we're writing a lot of checks these days, but a lot of kids don't know how to write a check. And that's and even though we don't have to write checks as much anymore, it's still, there's a process there that gets you thinking about how money works. Just because you write a check doesn't mean the money is out of your account immediately. There's a float time, and, recording that in your personal ledger to account that, hey, that $100 check I just wrote, I don't have that money anymore. Even though it's in my bank statement or my bank account balance, yeah, it's not there. So I think that's important for kids to learn. I wish more high schools did that. I have heard that there are high schools out there that have a business course. But I just think that's so important. Stuff like that, those life skills.
Exactly, like financial literacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it,
Investing.
not even just for going into accounting and finance, but just
Right.
in general. Yeah.
Right.
No, I agree.
Yeah. And, accounting is the language of business. So, understanding how businesses work, I think is very important, especially when you become older. It's just really good knowledge to have, especially when you get into investing and getting into retirement accounts and that type of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of complexity.
Absolutely.
And now too, with technology, everything is growing more complex and more sophisticated and more global.
Right.
So, it really has kind of demanded new standards.
Yep.
And that will trickle down to the high school level too.
Absolutely.
And when you saw the job posting for the financial analyst position that you currently hold at iHeartMedia, and you saw that they requested a CMA, what went through your mind? I'm wondering if the CMA ad campaign, which stresses how CMAs are always in demand, resonated with you when you saw that ad.
Absolutely. Honestly, my first reaction was, well, about time. Because, and anyone listening out there that's been looking at jobs, a lot of times it will only say CPA preferred or CPA required. And to speak on that, don't get discouraged. The CMA is very important, and I think it's a highly regarded credential. And I think, iHeart got it, and I think businesses now, 2020 threw everything out of whack. It made companies really look internally and say, oh my goodness, are we prepared for this? And who did they turn to? They turned to their financial professionals. And CMAs are geared in more of a strategic mindset. And I think that's what makes them so valuable, is because we can provide, strategic value to top line management, provide them, with special insights, up-to-date insights that they can use to pivot or, make really complex decisions. And I think we provide a good partnership to top line management in that regard.
Absolutely. And, I agree. 2020 was the year that made it clear business as usual was not going to happen anymore, and that there would be new rules moving forward, the need for agility, resilience, and a strategic mindset, just like you said.
Yes.
So also, a lot of companies explored implementing technology, like automation, with personnel shortages, and just considering like the safety of working environments.
Right.
So when you mention strategic mindset, I'm wondering how that connects with technology, and technology making a positive impact on business operations, but also more importantly, how as a CMA, do you have more confidence when you're approaching, let's say, like a transformative technological project like RPA or automating a process that used to be done manually? How does the CMA help you kind of see that process end to end and focus on the outcome?
Yeah. Totally. AI is just coming in hot, and it's here to stay. It's continually, being innovative day to day. But what's great about, and I know I've seen pushback from, AI and RPA, because I think a lot of finance professionals are worried. They're like, oh no, you're going to take away a lot of my daily routines or my daily tasks. And they shouldn't look at it that way. What RPA and AI is going to do, it's going to eliminate those mundane tasks. When I first started as a staff accountant, part of my daily routine was just pulling source reports and comparing it to a general ledger account and making sure they matched. And, some of these had little to no activity daily. So, but I still had to do it, just to make sure nothing went haywire. And what's great is RPA is going to be able to eliminate those tasks. So it frees you up to add more value to more value-added activities. So looking more foresight than hindsight, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And, nobody likes to do those jobs that are like repetitive. It kind of can get demoralizing after a while. So I think you're spot on when you say, technology will bring more opportunity than like disadvantages.
Absolutely.
And so I'm curious, how do you stay on top of technology trends? Do you read particular publications, or do you take classes, attend conferences or events around technology?
Yes. And I will say the IMA is incredible in keeping CMAs up to date. That's, it's just the truth. And I just recently this year took the data analytics and visualization course, which was extremely helpful. Reading the Strategic Finance magazine that comes in the mail monthly always has great information that's up to date. And just staying on top of that and understanding the why, understanding why this change is coming and how it can benefit you as an individual in your career, but also the business. Because it's all about efficiencies, everyone's looking for that next big efficiency that can not only reduce costs, but it can add value to the company and the bottom line.
Absolutely.
So I actually, I wasn't going to show this, but I printed this off. This is part of the data analytics course, but I don't know if everyone can see it. But, RPA is going to shift, we have descriptive and diagnostic analytics, which, were kind of what I was previously talking about, pulling those mundane daily GLs. That's kind of a, descriptive analytic. It's low complexity, low value. So if you can eliminate that, now you can get up to the predictive analytics, what will happen. And then the prescriptive analytics is how can we make this happen? And I think that's key, especially in today's business environment. So
absolutely. And so what does like a typical day in your job look like at iHeartMedia?
It's very diverse. One day I could be looking at a receivable GL and kind of diagnosing what's going on in there, if there's an issue, to providing top line management with up-to-date budget to actual results, forecasting. This is a big time of year for me too. We're in budget season. So that's keeping me busy, and it's great because I'm new to iHeart, and I think I'm coming in at a great time because the budget process, you just jump right in.
And I guess too, you're able in your role to even maybe like see things differently and provide innovative solutions. I always find when you're new to a company, there's a certain freshness about your outlook.
Yep.
Other people that have been doing it for a long time might not see the same things that you do.
Exactly.
So you can offer creative solutions.
Exactly.
Problems.
Yes. Again, it goes back to efficiencies. Taking a look at what they have done prior you getting there, and looking at it with a fresh pair of eyes, like you said, and say, hey, why don't we do it this way? This might shave off 10 minutes. And you know, 10 minutes times how many times you do it in a week, that's real time that you can spend elsewhere.
And you have to be creative to kind of like think of those solutions.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's not something that many people think of accounting and finance people as.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, how do you stay creative in your mindset?
Yeah. And, you know, I think accounting and finance, I think the word creative has a little bit of a stigma to it.
Yeah.
Because when you're in school, you learn about Enron, and you learn about all, you know, the scandals in the early 2000s. And one word that always gets tossed around when discussing those is they use creative accounting. And I think there's a stigma there. But creativity is more, it's thinking broadly. And I think it comes down to problem solving, being creative in your problem solving skills and sharpening those skills. And just trying to think outside the box, approaching it from a different angle. Do you need to back into a problem? Do you need to approach it, you know, a different way? So I think sharpening those problem solving skills helps me maintain creativity, because I always try to figure out how to approach something in a way that might be more beneficial or more efficient. And I think that helps in that regard.
Absolutely. And being a CMA, do you think if it comes to like a hiring decision, you would look for somebody with a CMA?
Absolutely. No doubt. I know what it takes to go through the exam, and, you know, the exam, it's tough. It is a tough exam. It's 2 parts, but it's jam-packed with knowledge that is very beneficial, but you need to know it. And so I know that they can do that. I know they know about professional ethics and standards. So I know they have that framework when it comes to decision-making skills. And I know that they tend to think strategically as well. I think that is such a vital role these days. So absolutely, CMAs are where it's at, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you know, it makes it easy for employers to spot then that top talent if you've got that CMA. And, you know, you stand out from the pack, like you said, which is really important. Competitive job landscape. Right.
And I mean, you have all the extensive accounting knowledge that CPA does, but you're layering on, you know, again, I keep saying strategic mindset, but you're adding value in different ways internally that other financial professionals may not have that skill. So it's a very valuable certification. And I'm very proud to be a CMA.
And you also have a degree in music business and in entertainment business, plus you play the bass guitar. So it seems like working for a company whose main business is music is the perfect fit.
Yes.
And I understand that at one time you wanted to be a musician.
Yes.
So what band would you be playing with today if you did not pursue in accounting and finance?
Well, Margaret, I'll be honest. I still would love to be a musician. I still play bass, and I'm still a musician. I'm still a musician.
Yeah, you're always a musician.
Yeah. You know, I would have to say Blink-182 was my biggest influence back in the day. You know, they were my bread and butter, and I would have loved to tour the world with them.
Right. They sang a semi-charmed kind of life, right? I think, I remember that from back in the day. And so, what advice would you give other accounting and finance professionals who are looking to work in fields that match their personal interests, like yours? Some of them might not even think it's possible. Like, what would you say to them?
I would say, I mean, that's the beauty of our profession as finance professionals is every industry needs a financial professional, any industry. So I would say, look in those industries that you're really passionate about. For instance, even before I applied for the iHeart position, I noticed that my favorite NFL team, the Saints, go Saints, were hiring a entry-level staff accountant. And had I just been entering the field, I absolutely would have applied to that and probably been bugging them, knocking down their door. But I was, it was entry level, so it wasn't a great fit, at least for my career at that point. So what I would say is definitely look for the industries that you're passionate about, get your foot in the door, because when you're able to take what you're passionate about for a career and marrying it with your passion, whether it be the medical field, school, education, anything, it doesn't become a job, it becomes a career. And, you get up every day and you want to make a difference and you want to know everything about the business. And I think that's just critical. It's very important.
Yeah, I think there's the saying, do what you like and you'll never work a day in your life.
That's it. Yep.
So yeah, I agree. And I also think what's interesting about your background is your career didn't really follow a straight line. It looks like you tried different things, you explored different industries, and then, you ultimately wound up in this place that kind of combines everything you like to do, which is such a good spot to be in.
Absolutely. And yeah, I'd say to everyone to don't be afraid of stepping stones. I've taken a lot of stepping stones in my career. A lot of my background is with financial institutions, and that helps me immensely. My previous position was at a financial institution, and it was right when the new leasing guidance was being released. So I was able to be part of a project that, transferred our book of leases into the new standards and into this new software system. So I was able to learn, because when I took the CMA exam, it was the old standard. I was getting taught on the old standard, and now there's a new standard. So I was able to learn in real time the new standard, which I thought was beneficial. So stepping stones are okay. Don't get discouraged, and take something from it. Any of those instances, just take something from it. There's always something to learn, someone to meet. I met some great people, through my career, that I'm still in contact with. So it's don't get discouraged. It's never going to be just a straight line. You got to try different things. Maybe you need to try, one thing, and then something might click, like, oh my word, I really do like this industry, or I really like this piece, or, so that'd be the advice I'd give is don't get discouraged, and just always stay hungry.
Yeah, no, that's great advice.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about your personal experience and how the CMA added value to your career and always keeps you in demand. So thank you again. And thank you to everyone that tuned in today to hear Mark's story.
Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone.